In this video, I'm gonna be revealing the 7 steps that I took to land my first client in 2 days. So I made my first cold call on October 18th, just a few days after purchasing Agency Navigator. And what inspired me to start making cold calls was actually after seeing Thomas Garnett's video about booking 3 to 5 appointments per day. And it's funny because an Agency Navigator, Iman Ghadzi, never talked about cold calling. And considering the fact that I actually have about 4 to 5 years of sales experience and have sold over $10 million worth of revenue in that time frame, it kind of just slipped my mind. So I went to Google, looked up my niche in certain cities and started dialing the phone. Now I was able to book 4 meetings within my first day of cold calling with just 48 calls. At this time, I was still running another business that I own to this day, and I didn't actually make another cold call until October 21st, which is when I connected with a local business owner who agreed to meet in person the following week. Which, when I showed up, I ultimately closed the deal, ended up collecting $500 cash, and ended up collecting $1,100 total to get started with that client. And by the way, that was with no results, no guarantees, no case study. Now, obviously, I did use the experience that I had in the industry and the fact that I have experience doing sales and closing deals. That helped me out tremendously. But let's get into the steps that I took and the things that I would have done better and how you can learn from it. So the first thing you need to do is pick your niche. Now, there's a lot of debate whether you want to pick a niche or not, but trust me, if you want to scale to $100,000 to $300,000, all the gurus, all the people who have done that successfully do tell you to pick a niche. Now, this is something that I see so many people overcomplicate and overthink, when all you really need to do is simply pick something that you have a background or experience in, or maybe you have family or friends who are involved in certain industries and niches. So for you, all you really need to do is just look around. What are you familiar with? What do you have experience with? What are your hobbies? I know plenty of people that have looked at their hobby and turned that into their social media marketing agency, company, and niche. If you don't have a whole lot of experience yourself, what are your friends and family? What are they involved in? Maybe you did an internship with an uncle one summer. Maybe you have a family friend or a friend's parents who are involved. Maybe they're dentists, maybe they're chiropractors, maybe they're electricians. You just have to look around you, tap into the network that you already have, that you already exist for you, and find someone that would be willing to help you get your journey started. Friends, family, and people within your network are typically some of the best people to start with and are extremely supportive and typically don't mind giving you money. For me, I accidentally got my first social media client back in August. It was somebody within my network, and they actually paid me $3,000 over 3 months. I actually didn't deliver a whole lot of results, and it just turned out to be a good learning experience. And that person is still, they're not a social media marketing agency, but they're a SaaS user of mine, and they're still very extremely supportive of me to this day. All right, so you've got your niche. What's next? Well, you need to know what you're going to be offering them. There's so many different things that you can do these days. Obviously, some of the more popular ones are Facebook ads, TikTok, Google SEO, or Google cost per click. Maybe you do YouTube video ads. Maybe you create organic content for people. Maybe you offer them a SaaS product. A lot of different offers that you can make. This is something you're very likely gonna have to test and tweak over time, because you're probably not gonna get it spot on the first time, and you're just always gonna be having to make pivots and repositions as you grow and scale your company. Now, when I first started, I was offering guaranteed appointments, and for my first couple of clients, I didn't really quite make that happen. So I actually pivoted into doing a SaaS offering because I wanted to still be able to make money while I perfected my service delivery. And then I ultimately pivoted and created a completely new and unique offer, what I call a video ad software, a VAS offer, that is actually the leading offer that I make for my company. Nowadays, instead of doing guaranteed appointments, I actually do a pay per show. That way, there's no upfront risk to the business owner, but I can still make money if I am able to get people to show. So I don't have to guarantee 15 and not get paid if only 14 show. I will still get paid even if I only do 11 to 14. I don't have to worry about hitting a threshold. Okay, awesome. So you've got your niche, you've got your offer. What's next? Well, we need to start doing outreach. We need to start the acquisition process. If you're doing local business marketing, the best place to get leads for absolutely free is directly from Google Maps. This is where business owners are already uploading and updating their most relevant information, because they obviously want to be found when people and consumers go online looking for their services or products. Now, there are a handful of free Chrome extension tools out there that you can use to scrape Google Maps. I personally use a tool called Instant Data Scraper, and I'm actually gonna show you real quick how that works. All right, so first we're gonna go to the Google Chrome store, get the Instant Data Scraper. It's gonna be a little Pokemon ball. Go ahead and download that. Then once you get it downloaded, go over to Google, look up your niche in a certain city. Make sure you load the entire list. Hit the Pokemon ball, download the list as a CSV. From there, we're gonna take it to Google Sheets so that we can actually clean the list, which is basically just moving all the numbers into one column, getting rid of some columns that we don't need. Then from there, we're gonna go over to GHL, upload it. We're gonna name each field. So name goes to name, phone goes to phone, address goes to address. We're gonna import that. And then we're gonna go ahead and put it into the Power Dial automation so that you can start separating your leads based on if they're answering, if they ask for a call back, if the call is completed. And then from there, are they booking appointments? Are they asking for a callback? What exactly is happening? And so as you continue to grow your agency, you're gonna have leads that you can follow up with later on, and you're gonna have much better visibility on your data, which is very important for growing and scaling your business. Awesome. So now that you have a phone system all set up, ready to dial it in, where you can actually record calls, you can listen back to your calls, figure out what you did good, what you could improve on, and how to just get better overall, which is the big reason I would recommend you start calling through GHL. What you need to do now is actually put in the work. Now, I could make an entire video about making cold calls and sales by itself, which I may do so in the future, but for now, I do have proven free scripts available in my Discord below. Now, something that Alex Hormozy says is that you need to be putting in 100 actions per day minimum. So he says, if you're gonna do cold calls, do at least 100 cold calls. If you're gonna do emails, do 100 emails. If you're gonna do DMs, do 100 DMs. If you're gonna do ads, do $100 of ads. So definitely make it your target to do 100 cold calls per day. This is probably gonna take you, depending on your answer rate and your conversion rate, this could take you maybe 3 to 4 hours per day. Just because you call 100 people doesn't mean that you're gonna talk to 100 people. You may only get 43 people that pick up, 18 that let you pitch, and maybe 2 or 3 that actually book. And those are the stats that you wanna track. Obviously the dials, the answer rate, the pitch rate, and the book rate. This will help you determine where you're losing prospects and what you need to improve on as you grow. Now here's the 5th step. You've got your first prospect, you've got your first meeting booked, which there's plenty of people in my Discord with the free script doing just that. Now, we need to actually present and close the deal. So for me, when I did my first meeting, which was the in-person meeting, which by the way, I would highly recommend if you are calling local leads, meet in person if you have the confidence to do so. There's obviously a pro and a con of meeting on Zoom versus meeting in person. In person, you're gonna have a much better rapport and your likelihood of closing the deal will go up. But if you're not very experienced with how to have a sales flow based conversation, it might be a little antsy or tricky for you. So there's obviously pros and cons there, but I would highly recommend that you do have local meetings in person if they are local. Now for me, when I went to this in-person meeting, I actually didn't have a slideshow or anything available. All I did was literally show them the process from A to Z. I showed them the Facebook ads, what that looks like from the ads manager. I showed them the process of how when the lead opt in through the lead form, it would get plugged into Go High Level, how the automations would send them the automatic messages, and show them how our goal was to get them only talking to engaged prospects that were responding to SMS. Now, the biggest thing that I see people messing up here is not taking the time to properly qualify and ask the right discovery questions. Asking the right questions and getting them answered is the foundation of closing any deal. You've all heard the saying, whoever asks the question is in control of the conversation. That's actually not true. It's the person who asks and gets their question answered who's in the control of the conversation. A good question that I like to ask, and this will obviously depend on your industry or your niche, is how many jobs are you doing per month? How many packages are you selling per month? And how many would you like to be doing? So this is obviously gonna give you insight on where they're at and where they wanna go. And that's gonna give you the room to inject yourself and show them how you're gonna be able to take them from X to Y. Now, again, this is another super in-depth conversation and video that we could go into, but we don't have time for that in this video today. And the sixth step here, which a lot of YouTubers don't seem to know what it is getting paid or actually closing the deal. This is the most important part. So after you qualify them, after you present them, and after you propose them, the next step is to get the deal sealed. Don't overcomplicate this. All you need to do is get their name and their email, which you should have or know by this point. Send them a Stripe invoice and literally have them pay it. Now, one of the golden rules about closing deals is when you send that Stripe invoice, first of all, make sure that you're sending that invoice while you're on the call, and do not get off of the Zoom meeting or do not leave the meeting until it is actually paid. Don't assume that just because somebody says they're ready to go, that if you hop off the call and send them a Stripe invoice that they're gonna pay it automatically. Very unlikely, possible, but highly unlikely that it happens. You definitely wanna stay on the phone, make sure, get confirmation that the money is paid so that you can get to work. All right, so congrats, you are halfway there. Wait, what do you mean halfway there? Well, we have just completed the first half of your business, which is client acquisition. Now you're moving on to the second half of your business, which is client fulfillment. So this is the seventh step in the 7-step process, which is delivery. So just because you collected the money doesn't mean that your job is done. Now you must deliver the results, and depending on what your offer is, you might have done the first 6 steps for absolutely nothing. A side note is if this is your first client, I would not recommend getting a media buyer, because you need to have some sort of experience so that when you are building and hiring media buyers, you actually know what you're looking for and how to know if your media buyer is essentially screwing you and your client, and how to know if they're actually producing the results that you are guaranteeing your client. Depending on your offer, you must fulfill on that offer. You gotta make sure that they're using their software. If you're doing a SaaS offer, you gotta make sure that the appointments are showing up if you're doing pay-per-show or guaranteed appointments. And depending on your offer and your guarantee, you might have done the 6 first steps for absolutely nothing at the end of the first 30 days, which is bound to happen if you're brand new and it's your first client and you make a ridiculous guarantee. But assuming that you are able to deliver your service successfully, or you're able to get them using the software successfully, from here it's really simple and straightforward. Now obviously it's simple and straightforward, but it is pretty complicated. From here you just need to repeat that entire process 10, 100, 200 more times, and you'll be right on the way to $10,000 months, $100,000 months, and beyond. So I trust that you guys got value out of this video, and if you did, if you're still watching, be sure to drop a like and also subscribe if you want to see more videos about SMMA, SaaS, sales, and much more. Anyways guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next video.